Hello, I'm Mike Feltenberger, and I'm going to do a racing recap from Shellhammer Dirt Track for the racing action for the Wingless Wednesday of July the 15th. First up, the night was moving in rapid style. We started early before the actual usual 7 o'clock starting time. We had the first heat on the track at 6:50. We were moving along quite well. We ran all our qualifying events, and we were calling the 600 micros out onto the speedway for their 7:50 A main start. And Mother Nature decided to come in around 7:45, putting a halt to our plans. But at 8:10, Dave Courtier Jr. decided to get the water truck out to pack the track in, followed by Willie 4 minutes later. And he made the call on the radio to have the 600 micros come out onto the speedway at 8:25. Give them a couple quick laps to get acclimated to the speedway. Throw the yellow, line them up, and go racing. And that's exactly what we did. We actually completed all 7 A mains in a 64-minute time period. We threw the green for the 600 micros at 8:34. We threw the final checkered for the Stage 1 Modifieds at 9:38. We ran 7 A mains off in 64 minutes with 5 of the 7 going non-stop. Here's a brief description of what happened during the course of the evening at the little track by the river. First up was the 600 micros, and they were setting some speed records for time of race and also lap times. Adam O'Brien in the Triple X, he was in overdrive as he warded off the challenges of Chris Tittle and Trevor Kobolars early in the event. Behind this trio, though, there was an all-out battle. Damian Bauer, Matt McAnally, and Easton Miller were just all locked together, and they were quickly joined by Brantley Flozak, Carter Koonsman, and Geezer Finelli. He actually had another 3-car battle directly behind him. So it was 6 cars basically all lumped together, racing for the top spots in the 600 micro main. As the laps wound down, there was no yellows. Positions were still being changed up until the final checker. O'Brien stretched his lead in the last 3 laps, with Kobolars getting second over Matt McAnally, with Tittle right behind Matt at the finish. Damian Bauer kept Flozak and Koonsman behind him, with Easton Miller joining in for a solid 8th. Some fantastic running mid-pack for the 600 micros. Geezer Finelli, who was up amongst the leaders for pretty much of the 15 laps of the 600 micro event, started to slow with a couple laps to go and eventually finished 9th at the checker. But the race went non-stop, completed in 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Junior Slingshots came up, and they also put on a real fantastic show for the fans, with Aubrey Romig setting a blistering pace in her 35A. She had a little bit of issues the night before in the Golden Hammer Junior Slingshot race, but she was back in prime form for the 20-lap distance at Shellhammers for July the 16th. There wasn't anybody that was going to challenge Aubrey. The full field completed the 20-lap distance, even though Aubrey had a 3-turn win at the checker. Gavin Wolf, Anthony DiNatale, and Haley Bernatowski were bunched up for the first 10 laps. But entering the racing group there was Barry Seaman and Frank Fritzinger. And behind Aubrey was Gavin Wolf, who had just enough to beat Frank to the finish line for the second spot. In fact, he beat him for second by 0.16 seconds. And Fritzinger got by Bernatowski with a couple laps to go, challenging for that second spot. Haley was 4th. Barry Seaman was in the 55B, getting the 5th spot, and the juniors went non-stop in 3 minutes and 37 seconds. 125s were the third class onto the speedway, and they also had a caution-free 20 laps. They completed the distance in 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Getting a good launch off of turn 4 on the initial start was Seth Gregory, with Easton Miller close behind. Making some headway on the leaders in the early stages of the race were Jared Himmler and Shane Davis, who came from his 7th starting spot. Joining in about the halfway point, 10-lap halfway point, was Dylan Yingst and Mason Cantello. But once they got to lap 15, there was no denying that Gregory was going to take the win. But as things would have it, hard luck struck Easton Miller on lap 19 as he slowed going underneath the white flag, losing out on his good chance at a runner-up position. Imler held on for second then, with Davis third, Cantello fourth, and Dylan Yingst rounding out your top five. Again, 20 laps, 3 minutes and 15 seconds. And then Brett Bieber had the Tess Horvath 42H on the pole for the All-Star Slingshot main and the multi-time national champion. Assumed command quick and easy, but he did have a couple of contenders along the way. He had Jocelyn Durinsig and Mason Pittenger locking into a battle behind him at the start of the race, and then Dylan Hoke eventually came in to the mix. The fourth starter, Dylan Hoke, getting in fact, challenging Brett for the win in the mid stages of the race. But while this was going on, Colton Williams, who was actually running fifth at the time, could see what was going on in front of him with the drivers, and he really put on a valiant charge to get past Dylan Hoke on a restart. It bolted into the second spot, just moving past Dylan, with Haley Ero now becoming a top 5 force at the halfway point. Lindsay Garl had a rough night. She was running in 6th place, got involved in 2 tangles, went to the rear, and then she said she thinks there was a couple of handling issues with the 17L, so she pulled the car into the infield as a DNF for the All-Star Slingshots. They had a scramble in the last 3 laps as Bieber had a comfortable margin with 3 laps to go, but all of a sudden Colt Williams and Dylan Hoke started to close the gap, and it came down to a good battle on that last lap, but Brett Bieber keeping the Horvath 42H under the checker for the win, with Colt Williams getting second, Dylan Hoke getting third. Haley Ero and Jocelyn Durinsig, the girls, took the final 2 top 5 positions, with the Golden Hammer winner Haley Ero getting fourth and Jocelyn Durinsig bringing the 36 home fifth. Darian Daniluk rallied from some early race cautions for a good, strong 6th place showing. Tess Horvath was 7th. An early race challenger, Mason Pittenger, got his 42 under the checker for 8th. The junior sprints, this is their speed weeks, so many of our regulars didn't show up for last night, but we did have 3 cars entered, and we did give them a 15-lap A main. And Carter Green, he was flying in the number 5. In fact, he was turning laps in the low 10-second bracket in the junior sprint. So Carter Green getting the win over Wyatt Flozak and Tyler Johnson. They went non-stop for 15 laps, 2 minutes and 37 seconds. 270 Micros had a good field of 15 cars, down a little bit, possibly due to the weather issues that were in the area, but Clinton Hauser brought the 270 field to the green, and he was the driver to beat in the early stages of the 20-lap main event. Matt McAnally did rally past him on the low side of turn 4 to get by Clinton on lap number 9, and once he assumed command, it was nothing but the checkered flag coming for Matt McAnally. Starting to show some speed at the halfway point was Dylan Caronia as he wrestled past Matt Bangs and Clinton Hauser to move into the 3rd spot around the lap 11 mark. Matt Hoffman had a little tumble in turn number 2 in the 17H. He fired it back up, regrouped, and kept on going once we resumed the race, but after a couple laps, I believe they said the car possibly had a rear end fire. Maybe one of the gears was meshed or whatever, but they went over, the infield officials went over with fire extinguisher just in case there was a fire incident with the Matt Hoffman 17H. 4th place finish, well, actually, McAnally stayed focused for the win with Caronia getting 2nd. Jarrett Imler getting the 0-4 home for the 3rd spot. 4th place finish concluded right under Dave Courtier's checker. Clinton Hauser just got the line in front of Matt Bangs, getting the 4th spot. Matt having a good run in the 72 for 5th. And sleeveless Mike Kalman had nothing but DNFs and hard luck throughout his year. It was great to see him get his 17 under the checker and finish the 20 laps in 6th place with a strong showing by DJ Tanner and Chris Dolan for 7th and 8th. As the night was wearing on, Stage 1 Modifieds were the last class to be brought to the staging area on the track for their main event. And what a main event it was. Dylan Hoke by winning the heat win for the Stage 1 Modified. Started on the pole with A.J. Gerhardt, a multi-time Stage 1 champion, his rival on the outside of row number 1. At the drop of the green, Hope stayed to the low side. Gerhardt stayed to the high side. Ran him clean. They were running clean into turn 3, side by side, but coming off of turn 4, Dylan had the bite coming off of turn 4 into 35 and propelled past Gerhardt to get the lead, of which he was not going to be denied. Gerhardt stayed pretty close to Dylan, but Dylan started stretching the lead in the late stages of the race, getting the win with A.J. Gerhardt getting second. The Golden Hammer winner, I should say, Brett Smith in a 25, had a nice strong third place run, getting by Johnny Fugello, who was the third place runner for pretty much of the race, but Smith getting by Fugello for the third spot. Laps were passing quickly. Jake Moyer attempted to get by Fugello, but that was not going to happen, with Fugello in the 5-team getting the 4th spot, Jake Moyer getting 5th. Stage 1 Modifieds completed their non-stop 20-lapper in 3 minutes and 18 seconds, with the final checker being thrown at 9:38. So if anybody decided to stay home last night thinking that Mother Nature was going to win, Shellhammer Dirt Track officials and staff, we beat Mother Nature. She tried to put a dampening effect on our racing program and cut it short, but Dave, Brenda, Willie, and the rest of the crew got the features in, and everybody was paid and on their way home by 10 o'clock. So we will have another Wingless Wednesday racing night set aside next Wednesday night, July the 23rd, with the 7 divisions of 600 micros, 270 micros, 125 micros, all-star and junior slingshots, Stage 1 Modifieds, and the junior sprints. So hope everybody stays safe and well. See you at the Speedway next week. Thank you.